Okay, so this is what I got. I got this piece right here. What we have in here is a hex. And I don't have a hex that big, but I got this. It's a T60, but it is actually hex shaped. So when I place it in here, I get a really good fit. So I think that's going to be usable. So what I'm going to do here, these are the pinch bolts. And they are number 6 mils. So I'm going to take that pinch bolt out, that pinch bolt out. That should break loose, loosen it up, not take it out, but I'm going to loosen this one, loosen them out pretty good. And then that should break loose, and if that breaks loose, then I should be able to take this wheel right out of here. I'm going to do it with the brakes and everything on there. There should be no issues there. I should just walk that wheel right out. And before I do that, I'm going to get a jack. I'm going to put it up under the bike. Now this bike has a belly pan. You got to be careful. But on these belly pans, there's an opening here that goes to the block. So I'm just going to put a piece of wood on a jack. And it's not much weight because a lot of the weight's off the front. And when the front end comes off, it's going to be even lighter. But I know it'll still be nose heavy. So to keep me from getting any surprises, I'm going to go ahead and put a jack on it. Put a jack there, piece of wood underneath it, because there's an opening in the belly pan. So it's sitting on the block. Not much weight, very little weight, but we now have the front end nice and light, totally unsprung. Okay, so we're going to get a number 6 millimeter. We're going to loosen up these pinch bolts. Ow, that was right on my toe. Not the right shoes to be wearing, but what. So let's go ahead and try and see if we can't break this bad boy loose. Oh yeah. That's just a wonderful thing. Find a center spot here and get it to clear. And off she comes. It's actually in pretty good shape. Bearings on this wheel are in good shape. That's that. Yeah, maybe I should have done the. That's an 8. Go ahead and crack this loose. Go ahead and crack this loose. You out. There's a washer in there. Are you able to see me? I don't even know. Sure the washer comes out. I'm not really too worried. A lot of people say, oh, don't let your lines dangle, don't let your calipers dangle. These things are really light and there's no kink because they're dangling straight down. There's no kink on any of this. So these lines could definitely take that kind of load. Alright, that's that. And I'll take another break because I got to put the heat on in here. It's freaking cold. I'm going to change my first battery out on this GoPro. Huh. Alright. So I've got a little heat in here, got a little warmer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start dismantling the handlebar area. This bike has risers. This part would sit down here. But these risers I bought, I don't remember where I bought them, but I bought them because the bike was pretty stock. raise the handlebars up that much, okay, and they actually bring the handlebars back. It's a lot more comfortable than what I was used to doing. Now, my philosophy of dismantling things is I like to take things off in chunks and then put them back together in pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these caps off. There's going to be 4, I believe, number 6 Allens. They're long. They go right through into the top of the triple tree. I'm going to pull that off, and I'm just going to take all the handlebars, all chunky, and just throw them off to the side. Just throw them off to the side. And then we're going to go ahead and disconnect the ignition. Oh, and by the way, make sure your battery's disconnected. I'm going to disconnect the ignition. It's a wire that runs down in here into this plug. These are all plugs. Whenever you see a rubber boot like that, it's hiding a plug. It's a fairly heavy gauge plug. Wires look good too. So go ahead and unplug that, and then take these 2 top bolts off. Take this plug out. Take the handlebars, throw them off to the side, and then we can start working the front forks. So, pop, pop. Okay. Aesthetically pleasing to me. Yeah, they are 6s. So let's see if we can't just lift this straight off. No, it ain't gonna let me do that. Oh yeah, there's another one. One more. One more. There's actually a hex right in here. Now she should come apart. Relatively easy. So your mileage may vary on your bike, because if you don't have these, so there's a cover here. Right? This is the actual riser. Okay? There's your air nozzle. Never put metal on metal. You should get a smack. You should be smacked. Oh, wonder why that's so tough. I don't remember being that tough, but there's nothing wrong with it. And the bolts back in, because that's how I roll. There you go. There's your air, there's your non-air. And your handlebars are off. I'm going to take this cover off to expose the ignition. Okay. Last step here is going to be to unplug the ignition switch. There's a wire, there's a single wire, which looks to be some kind of ground. And then there's a plug, and this particular plug doesn't even have a clip. So you got to look for that when you put it down. Okay. The other triple tree top, I'm going to go with the key from the other bike. So I'm going to rekey the whole bike. And with that, I'm going to change the battery out of the GoPro, and then we're going to disassemble the front forks. But for now, just curious. It's more morbid curiosity than anything. Is there air in here? Son of a gun. That's amazing. Yes, there is. There is still air in there. I checked that in the spring, and it held air. So there is nothing wrong with the rubber as far as those seals go on that cross piece that I showed you earlier. That's it. So I'm going to go ahead and swap the battery on. To bring up before I get into this is, see this right here? When we put the new ones on, we're going to have to make sure that everything is right as far as height-wise, because you don't want it racked. If you take this handlebar, push it down flush. Let me hang this back up here. That's my gauge. You see that? Perfectly flush. There's a tiny little gap in there, but that's what I want it to look like. Let's get this hammer, beat it down, and we put a little light on there. See that? Nothing. It's flat. There's no gap in there, nothing. That's where I need to be reassembling. That's how I know I'm there. Both sides. Both sides are there, then the forks are even. I want to loosen this. I want to loosen this. And then I want to loosen everything and it should all come apart. So let's see what it takes. Can I get in here? I can. Very simple. This is just really a rudimentary clamp. It doesn't do anything. It just keeps the other thing from walking up. It is 12 mil. That's not that tight at all. Just crack them loose. Actually, it's a nut and bolt, so I should probably go ahead and tack it from the nut. Let me get a 12 mil. So what I want to do is, because this is going to be slipping through this thing, which has got a rubber grommet, I just want to get the crap off of it. Just want to get the crap off of it, because I don't want to be sliding that through that rubber grommet. And I'll show you what I mean after. That's that. There you go. What I like about this fork is, you see that? That still has the original decal on it for the KYB system. KYB actually built the shock system for this bike, which is cool. Even the rear shock. KYB's been in business a long time. Good products. Right here, there's a hole right there, both sides. And then you got this piece, which has an O-ring here, an O-ring here, and there's a tube, and they transfer from one fork to the other, and I guess it equalizes it. Does it equalize oil? I don't know. It looks like it. It's soaking wet. So maybe it does that too. Anyway, it was holding air, which was amazing. I would like to, because I'm going to have to bleed the brakes anyway, take it off here and then raise it up above the master cylinder, and then it won't make as big a freaking mess. So I got to make something that will allow me to do that, or maybe I can get it to. So that's that. We just keep it in the air above the master cylinder, and it won't leak. It can't leak. So there it is. So master cylinder is under there. It's upside down. It shouldn't leak. It's sealed, and that's above it. So no leak in there. Be careful what I touch now. here. I take it off here, I take it off here, and then both calipers are gone. Take it off in chunks. Those appear to be 10 mils. Two. All right. Good. Right there. Pretty soon this will all be discombobulated too. So I'm just going to take this now and just move it over here. Okay. Next. We're actually getting there. We're almost done. This comes out next. I'm going to pop that bad boy out of there. Don't know what size it is. We'll see. It's probably, I bet you I don't have a metric that big. So I'm going to use something else. Sacrilegious. How about a 1 1/16? Wow. We seeing a theme on electric tools yet? Why did I waste my time setting it all up? That's actually pretty freaking tight. I don't know what the torque spec is on that, but that was tight. Okay. Up she comes. Voila. There's a ring here. That is the tool. I've been called a tool, but this is the tool to take this out. I didn't pay much for it. It was worth it. So it goes like that, rests up against there, and you unbolt it. And you get a good torque feel, good feel. Another one of those tools that are just like, wow, why did I not have it? So, there you go. We're gonna take. Ooh, so that's chewed to shit. Oh, it was recently greased. So it's not round bearings, they are conical. Interesting. Okay, so they are conical. This bike already came with conical bearings. So I don't know what the hell I was reading. A little freaking grease seal kind of shit the bed there. I got one from the other bike. Alright, there you go. That's it. So the next step now will be to... Let me see what these races look like. The races look good too. No, the races are chewed. There you go. Yep, those races have beat the shit. She was not happy. She was not happy. All up on the top too. It's the top, so. Oh. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can. I went ahead and cleaned everything up in here. Now, if you look at the race. Look at the bearing race and how it's in there. There's actually a little lip you can grab. You can grab a lip there, you can grab a lip there. And these bearing races are what's called interference fit, which means they're basically about the same size as each other. So they got to be hammered in and hammered out. What this is I don't know, I guess they call it a drift. Got a relatively sharp point on. I can see if I can do this. I'm gonna put this in my mouth. Okay. Oh, that works. Okay. See how I can catch that, and then if I go on the front top, I can catch that. So I just go in there with the hammer and love tap it, all four sides, and that race will start to back out. It's the same condition for the one on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get that done. The other person in the shot is my son. He's actually working on his bike. So I actually had to take this thing, put a little bit of a curve on it so I could get in there. Done these before, but it doesn't afford you much of a lip to grab. But that's it. That's the race. That's one half the race. So let's see how the book. All right. So I had me quite an issue taking the bottom race out. I don't even know what I'm looking at here. I'm a little stressed out here. So I tried sticking my drift in through here to try to bang the back side of the bearing race out, and it wouldn't come out. I actually had the wrong material. This is not a hardened thing. Although it took the top off, I had a good lip to grab on. The bottom, I had a horrible lip to grab on. So I started grinding on it to have it loosen its grip, which I think it did. But I still couldn't get my drift to grab on it. I mean, I've gone through a couple of screwdrivers too. So my solution was this. I got a pipe. This is actually a antenna masting pipe. I hammered out a small little, I don't know if you can see that, like a mushroom. I mushroomed the end of it a little bit. Stuck it in there. I was actually able to find the top of the race, and then I just pounded the top of it, and the race came out like butter. So I've been at this for, I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours, and I didn't even need to do that. Live and learn. Sometimes the simplest tools are the best way to do it. And they don't even have to be tools. Anyway, the bearing races are out. So now the next step here is we're going to try and hammer the new ones in. So if you look, there's no race in there. There's some shavings and stuff from the grinding I did. And I got a little crappy area there. You can see where I kind of pounded on it, but it should be fine. There's no issues there. So I'm going to clean all of that up, and then we're going to get the races and pound the races back in. But cleanliness is next to godliness on this stuff, so I'm going to do a really good job and get all the debris out. Okay, so many times have gone through. Got my front of my bike cleaned up a little bit, which is good. This is all cleaned out. Underneath is all cleaned out. So now we're going to put the races in. So I've got my all balls, two different sizes. There's a larger and a smaller. The larger fits the bottom. You notice it's thick on one side, thin on the other. The thick side goes up. There's a nice little ledge that's going to sit. When that thing goes in and hits that ledge, it is installed. Both sides. We just want to put the new race in, like so. Actually, I'm going to get a piece of wood and start it. This is too light a hammer, but get a heavier hammer. Okay, so that's sitting there flush. I'm going to get this bad boy and put it right there. Try to get a lip on it. I want to get a lip on it. Let me see if I can't just love tap it in there. I might get in your way here. Yeah. Almost bit my finger. Almost bit my finger. You gotta be careful you don't get bit. Hammers suck. That sounded good. That sounds pretty whacked right there. I'll whack the top and I'll whack the bottom, or it should be good. Yeah, that don't sound right. I mean, that sounds right. Yeah, that's in there. That is one seated race. Nice and smooth, no gouging, no galling, nothing. So if you notice, I got a cut in there. It allows for it to flex. I mean, it wasn't by design, but I was going to do it anyway. So I'm going to get the grinder on this one. I'm going to cut that so I get a slit, so I don't get it stuck in when I hammer the other one on the top. So with that, I'll pause this off and get that all set. Try and pound that in nice and straight. I am not good with the right hand, am I? Well, I'll just keep spinning around. Come on. I'm getting there. Alright, we're just under the lip. Getting there. There's going to be a lot of back and forth on this one. Ooh, that sounded good. That sounded like it's seated. That's seated. Oh yeah. That's it. bearing races are in. I finished that. Now the next step is installing the bearings on the neck.